When did you start playing football?
I started playing football first grade. Um, my dad's best friend from like middle school and high school stuff like that. His kid's 2 years older than me, and so he got to play football before me. And I would always go out and run out in their practices, even when I was in like kindergarten and preschool. I'd do the conditioning with them after practice and stuff like that, just because I wanted to play. So as soon as I was old enough in first grade, I started playing, and then I also, starting from third grade up until freshman year, played 6 years of spring tackle football too. So this year I think I'm going on my 16th or 17th season of football. So I played easily over 100, 120, 50 games. So I mean I've been playing for as long as I can remember.
Was it one of those things that you just took to it right off the bat?
Oh yeah, I mean I saw it, and even at a young age I'd watch football on TV, stuff like that. So it's just like I always wanted to play, and like as soon as I could, like I was in there. Obviously first year, like I was getting rocked up by the kids who were in it for 2, 3 years, but starting the next year, I started out as a quarterback. That was what I first wanted to be, because that was what my friend played. So I started out as a quarterback and played that for 3, 4, 5 years, and then started playing running back, and I haven't stopped really since then.
When did you realize you were good?
You kind of go through phases. I usually played up, so I'd always be like the younger kid on the team just because I could, and like I can compete with those guys. So like when I was younger in like elementary school, I knew I was pretty good, like usually one of the better guys on the team. And then middle school, like the first couple years, I was playing up with some kids who were like, they were older than me, and that middle school is kind of that time where kids really start growing. So like I was like okay, decent then, and then I was a pretty good linebacker back in those days. And then coming into like 8th grade, like I didn't even like think of anything like that. Like, oh, I was super good. Like I knew back then I wanted to play college football, but people were like, dude, like you're gonna get all these like offers one day, like blah blah blah, like you're gonna play everywhere. So like I think just kind of from the people talking to me, like I was like, oh, like I must be pretty good at this, and like obviously like I'm playing because I like it, and I'm not gonna stop if I'm good at it. So then I kept playing, and through high school, just everyone always tells me, oh, you're so big and you're so good, like you're gonna go places, like blah blah blah. So like it started out at a young age, and kind of just I usually try not to pay too much attention to it though. I just like to play the game more just for the fact, pure love for it.
How important is it for you to continue playing after high school?
It can really, in all honesty, make or break what I do with my life, because I'm not like one of those kids that has like a 4.2 GPA or anything like that. So like I'm not gonna get into like a super good school or anything like that. And like my family, it's gonna be hard to afford college, so I probably wouldn't even be able to do it, even if I did get in somewhere. So like I want to play college football, not just because I love the game, but also because I want to like do something with my life. This year I'll be the first person in my house to graduate high school. So like playing this game is kind of just, it's giving me an opportunity to make something of my life and kind of break the chain of what's happened in my family and stuff like that. So like it's really important because it'll change my life and set a good example for my younger sister. And it's just going to really, if I can go to college and hopefully be successful, it'll kind of just, like I said, break the chain of what my family's usually been like.
Now you mentioned that you started playing as a sophomore. You're playing kind of a major role in the varsity. Is that when you started thinking, hey, I'm on varsity, I'm playing for a good team, I'm doing well, it's something I could probably have a future of? Is that when it started to kick in, or is it
I knew ever since I was a little kid I want to play college football, Like everyone, when they're little, has those dreams, like, oh, I want to play pro football, like I want to be in the NFL, like blah, blah, blah. And like when I was a sophomore and I started starting on varsity, making a big role, and was headlining newspapers and things like that, it was like, hey, this is like realistic. Like I could probably make something out of this, for real. It's not even just like a dream anymore. It's something I could probably actually do. So like right now, I'm just keeping the goal small. Right now, I just want to start with college football, because as you get older, you realize how hard it is to actually make it into things like pro sports. So I'm sitting right now hoping I can make it to college football, and I know I will, hopefully. And so sophomore year is probably when those dreams really came into fruition and it seemed realistic for me, and it kind of became real, and I knew that I could do it.
How would you describe, from your perspective, the recruiting process and the ups and downs? Maybe just give us an idea of what it's like so far.
It's different for everyone. There's guys on ESPN and things like that where they just get offers from every school in the country. It's like it's not stressful for them at all because they just get whatever they want and they get it all kind of handed to them, but they've earned it. And then as compared to guys like me who are under the radar but are good enough to play in college, it's frustrating. Like you sit there and like people tell you all the time, and people will stop you at camps and go out of their way and be like, dude, like how many offers do you have? Like you're really good, and you'll be like, none. Like I have nothing. And it's frustrating when all these schools talk to you and things like that, but none of them really throw you an offer, and none of them kind of throw you the bone and say we want you to play here. So like it's real confusing and frustrating because you kind of get down on yourself because you're like, am I really good enough to play this sport? And like you think you're good enough, and everyone tells you you are, but for some reason you don't understand why it's not being proven to you by those college recruiters. So it's really nice when you get a phone call from the school and they'll talk you up and things like that. But then by the end of the phone call and they haven't thrown you an offer, it's like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Like I got good grades, I'm playing great ball, like leading my team to a championship. Like what else can I do? You know? So it's real confusing and frustrating. It just leaves you wondering all the time.
What are some of the specific schools that you've had contact with, and sort of what are your hopes, or what do you think the chances or likelihood are of kind of falling through there?
The main schools, I think, like I've had everything from Pac-12, like Stanford, all the way down to Ivy Leagues or D2s like Harvard and Yale, or D2s like William and Jewell from Missouri or something like that. So I've had everything across the board, but it's like you never and a lot of them are pretty serious. Like Stanford's pretty serious. They contact me weekly almost, and they tell me, even though they don't want me as a running back, they want me as a fullback, they tell me like, we really liked everything you did. Like their offensive coordinator was all over me at their camp, and their running back coach loves me, and the coach that recruits my area, who's the linebacker coach, is all over me. And they said, we just want to see a few games during the season, see how you play this year. And like they made me sign up for 2 AP classes this year. So they seem pretty serious, but then again, like in everything in college football, there's no guarantees. So with other schools like AA's, like UC Davis and Montana, it's the same thing. They send me letters or call me every week, and they tell me they want me to play there, but they haven't done an offer. Will they? I don't know.
Can you describe what it's like for you? I mean, I understand that you're on the sidelines for some of these Stanford games, and for someone who's always aspired to be a college football player, you must feel like you can almost kind of taste it being that close to the action. What's it like on a Saturday afternoon?
It's crazy. It's definitely it's almost a little scary, because like they always say, like there's a big change from high school to college, and you stand there on the sideline and you're right next to those players, and you're like, damn, these guys are big. And like it's not scary in the sense that you don't think you can do it. It's just like these guys are big, and it's going to be a whole new level for me and a whole other challenge. But like you kind of tell yourself, and you know that you can do it. And me personally, I know that like whenever it comes to playing better competition, I kind of up the ante for myself personally, and I play harder, and I train harder, and I work harder, and like it shows on the field. Like, some of my best games are against better teams. So like I know for me personally, lining up on that sideline, it's like I can taste the fact that I'm close to making a dream come true, especially at a school like Stanford in the Pac-12, top 10 ranked team almost every year. So it's like, I'm telling myself that I'm there, and I'm almost there, and like I just got to keep pushing, and hopefully that dream will come true pretty soon.
Now your team is doing extremely well. I mean, number 1 ranked in a lot of places. How do you kind of weigh the balance between kind of like selfish interest, I would say, as far as you want to make sure, not selfish in a bad way, but selfish in the sense that I want to have goals for myself personally, versus in the team concept, and understanding that you also want to have a very successful season for your team. How do you kind of weigh those?
It's definitely a hard balance to find, because personally you do want to have good games. You want to go for 200 yards every week and 4 touchdowns every week. And at the same time, like that's not always going to be possible. Like especially for me, going in my 3rd year starting, and I've been very productive through my career. It's like teams just stack the box on us, and for me, it's like, okay, that's kind of frustrating. Like I want to get these good stats, but I have 100% faith in the quarterback, and we have a very, very good quarterback in Drew Brown, and he's just going to throw over the top of them all day long, and that's how we've been beating people mostly through these 2-3 games. I mean, I've had my fair share of touchdowns and a good amount of yards, but at the same time, he's going off on people because they try to blitz and stack the box on me, and he's throwing it around like it's just a basic game of catch. So, I mean, I'm not disappointed. Like, I'm having a good season so far, so, like, I'm not too worried about it or anything like that. I know there's going to be games where you have highs and lows, and I'm just excited. We're, 3-0, number 1 in CCS on pretty much every ranking, and 48th in the state, so top 50, and we're in the 300s in the nation rankings, and how many high schools are there in the nation? Like, that's a ridiculous ranking, and I'm pumped about it. This could possibly be one of the best teams in Los Gatos ever, so I'm excited.
Now, as you go through the rest of the season, can you kind of anticipate what your emotions are going to be like as sort of like these signing days get closer and that sort of thing? Can you kind of walk through? I mean, do you get letters all the time? What's a typical week like for you as we get further and further down the season?
Yeah, I'll get letters all the time, but like you never really know what they mean. Like I've probably got a stack of 50 something of these big envelopes from Arizona, but every single one it's like the same thing where it's like some weird like printed picture. But like I've never actually had any physical contact with coaches. And then there's other schools like San Jose State or Stanford. Well, they'll send you stuff maybe once or twice a week, maybe even once a month or something like that. You never know. Really random with really everyone there. And but they'll also, at the same time while sending you those letters, they talk to you and they'll email you, call you, stuff like that. Like I just got off the phone with the UC Davis coach last night and talked to him for a good 10-15 minutes. So, I mean, that's a normal week, and it's exciting when you get those things, definitely, but you try not to get your hopes up because you never know if they're really going to follow through with anything. So you kind of just like, oh, cool, like I got another one, and you kind of add it to the stack and say, all right, like now that I got kind of my own personal pleasure out of it, let's go back to work with the team and stuff like that. I'm definitely this year, especially as a captain, like trying to maintain more of a focus on my team than like my own personal recruiting. That's going to come after the season. If I haven't committed after the season, then I'm going to do the best I can, calling every coach I can and getting my stuff out there and trying to get my name out there and get a last minute, hopefully a scholarship.
So at this point in time, after the third week of the season, how would you classify your optimistic, cautiously optimistic, really optimistic? I know I'm going to get what I want. Where do you kind of stand right now?
As a team, or
personally for your
I mean, my first 3 games, I think I've played really well. I've put up some great numbers, and I'm on pace to have more yards than I did last season and set an all-time school record for career rushing yards. So, I mean, that's a big thing to say at a great school like Los Gatos. Like, we've had guys in the NFL and things like that. So, like, to say you hold an all-time record there it's a big deal. So, I mean, getting closer through the season, especially in getting these stats on really good teams, it looks good for me, it looks good for the team, and if I can keep performing really well and every week against good teams, it's like it's going to impress college coaches. So it makes me more optimistic when I'm playing these teams that have Division I recruits and things like that, and I'm personally beating these guys and things like that. So it's exciting. It definitely makes me optimistic that I have the ability to compete at a high level.
And talk a little bit about kind of what Los Gatos has meant to you as a school and a team as far as your personal development.
This place has changed my life. It's phenomenal. Moving from San Jose in 8th grade to come here, just to come here, like for no other reason than to play football. It changed my career and basically my life path and whether or not I could have played college football. And not even just the football aspect. Like I've met people here that are either just like me or like friends and things like that, or mentors that have completely changed my life. So like everything in this town has just made me as an athlete and as just a person better. Like this town means everything to me, and I can't wait to look back at how this place changed my life in the future.
We're good.
Need to pee out.